Is Lewis Hamilton reaching the end of his glorious career? The seven-time world champion is going through what could be described as the most challenging period of his entire Formula One journey, and never have discussions about his future been so heated. However, should we really consider the story of one of the greatest talents of all time to be over? Or could there be much more complex factors behind this supposed decline? The scenario Hamilton faces at Ferrari is absolutely cruel for those who have followed his evolution. We are talking about a competitor who arrived in Maranello as the definitive solution to end the traditional Italian team's winless streak, but who is currently experiencing one of the most bitter periods in its history. The data is relentless and revealing. In 14 races at this stage of the season, Hamilton has not managed to reach the podium even once, while Charles Leclerc, his cockpit partner, has already celebrated 5 times at the top of the standings. However, what is truly surprising goes beyond the mere numbers, residing in the conditions themselves. During the Hungarian Grand Prix, which marked the end of the first half of the championship, we witnessed something that few would have believed possible: Lewis Hamilton completely disoriented. While Leclerc secured pole position on a track he admits is not his favorite, Hamilton was eliminated during the second phase of qualifying and started from 12th place. For someone who has already won 9 pole positions at the Hungaroring, the circumstance was almost unbelievable. Throughout the race, Hamilton crossed the finish line in exactly the same position he started, unable to overtake any opponent on a track where he has triumphed 8 times during his career. What was most striking was the Briton's attitude after the qualifying session. In statements that shook the Formula One world, Hamilton described himself as useless and even suggested that Ferrari should possibly replace him as a driver. Such words, coming from a 7-time world champion, demonstrate the extent of the irritation and discouragement the competitor is experiencing. When asked about his presence at the Dutch Grand Prix after the summer break, his response sounded hesitant. "I hope to return." This is a doubt never before seen in the career of someone who has always presented himself as decisive and self-assured. Hamilton's performance has been consistently inferior to Leclerc's in virtually every aspect. In qualifying sessions, the Monegasque has outpaced the Briton 10-4. In races, Leclerc's superiority is even more evident. 11 wins to Hamilton's 2, which would have been 12 had it not been for the double disqualification in China. These figures show that this is not a matter of bad luck or isolated difficulties, but a consistent discrepancy in performance that has caused concern among analysts and fans around the world. Ralf Schumacher, brother of the iconic Michael Schumacher and former Formula One competitor, has made statements that reflect the feelings of many in the paddock. In his view, although Hamilton still maintains a good standard, the central question is whether that standard remains as high as before. Schumacher highlighted the emergence of promising young drivers such as Oliver Bearman, Isaac Hadjar, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Gabriel Bortoleto, suggesting that teams no longer need to bet on more mature and veteran drivers. "If I were in the position of team boss, I would choose to put a young driver with potential for the future in the car, someone I can develop and who has not yet passed their peak," said the German. However, there is a completely different view that could transform the whole situation. Toto Wolff, Hamilton's former boss at Mercedes, offered an interpretation that could be key to understanding what is really going on. According to Wolff, Hamilton has unfinished business in Formula One, and the current situation could be directly linked to a driving style that is incompatible with the ground effect cars under the current regulations. Just as Mercedes has faced obstacles with the current regulations and has never fully adjusted to the ground effect cars, perhaps this is linked to the driving method, clarified the Austrian. And this is where the most crucial aspect of this whole reflection lies. Hamilton built his career as a driver who braked late into corners, an aggressive method that led him to 7 world titles. However, this characteristic has become a deadly disadvantage in the current era of ground effect cars. Abrupt and late braking disrupts the suction at the bottom of the floor, impairing stability and performance in the center of corners as the seal under the car loses its effectiveness. It is as if the driver who has always represented his greatest virtue has now become his greatest adversary. The good news is that significant changes are on the horizon. The 2026 season will introduce new chassis regulations and new power units, with the return of more traditional floors in Formula One cars. This change could symbolize a new opportunity for Hamilton, allowing his natural driving style to once again become a positive advantage rather than a hindrance. The introduction of active aerodynamics also represents uncharted territory for everyone in the paddock, creating a unique opportunity for veteran drivers like Hamilton to demonstrate their ability to adapt. In addition, specific technical issues at Ferrari may be contributing to the Britain's difficulties. During this season, Hamilton has had to adjust to Ferrari's Brembo brakes and engine brake, components that are completely different from the carbon industry models he used for over a decade at Mercedes. This technical adaptation, combined with the need to fully integrate into Ferrari's culture and working procedures, represents challenges that go far beyond pure speed on the track. Fred Vasseur, Ferrari team principal, remains fully confident in Hamilton and shows no interest in breaking the agreement, which still has a year and a half to run. According to Vasseur, Hamilton is demanding, but it is precisely this demand that has made him a 7-time world champion. He is demanding with the team, with the car, with the engineers, with the mechanics, with me too. But first and foremost, he is very demanding with himself, explained the Frenchman. The pressure Hamilton puts on himself and the team may be creating momentary tensions, but it could also be the catalyst for significant improvements in the future. The relationship between Hamilton and Ferrari has shown signs of development, especially in building camaraderie within the team. Although there have been moments of tension, particularly in interactions with race engineer Riccardo Adami, the driver's integration into the Maranello environment continues to progress. With expectations now considerably lowered and a fresh start approaching in 2026, Hamilton and the team can focus on the process rather than the result, on building rather than productivity. The interpretation of all these circumstances leads us to a striking conclusion. Hamilton may be experiencing his lowest point, but the conditions suggest that this is temporary. The combination of regulations unsuited to his method, technical adaptation to new components, and integration into a new team has created a perfect storm that has masked his true abilities. As Vasseur said after the race in Hungary, Hamilton is frustrated but not demotivated. It's a completely different narrative. Formula One has seen great champions go through tough times before returning to the top. Michael Schumacher had problematic seasons before dominating with Ferrari. Sebastian Vettel faced difficult years before showing flashes of his former genius. The difference is that Hamilton is facing these challenges at the age of 40, a stage in his career when few drivers are able to reinvent themselves. But if there is anyone with the experience, determination, and talent to overcome this stage, it is Lewis Hamilton. So while critics multiply their questions and skeptics declare the end of an era, the reality may be very different. Hamilton may be down, but he is definitely not out. The regulatory changes of 2026, combined with his growing adaptation to Ferrari and decades of experience at the highest level, may well symbolize the beginning of a new chapter in his legendary career. And if that happens, those who today are calling for his retirement may find themselves once again witnessing the magic of one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history. What do you think? Has Hamilton really reached the end? Or is this just another battle that the 7-time champion is destined to win? Leave your opinion in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any analysis of the world of Formula One.